A very important part of reading music are those music notes, the music notes and rests, what I call the rhythmic language of music. Let's take a look at them here in this PowerPoint presentation. Right, the very first one, I'm starting very unusual. You'll probably never see this note in your life, certainly not in band music. It's very rare and very infrequent. It's a lot more common if you go to church and look in your church music. And the name is a double whole note. And it looks like this. It's a round circle, and it has these stripes on the side. My computer program does too. Sometimes I'll see it with just one, but that's what it looks like. And we describe it, this double whole note, we say it's a bracketed open note head. The note head is just the round part of the note, and we say it's open because it's not colored in. These lines are on the sides are the brackets. A double whole rest is this rectangle thing down here. Notice it fills up the entire space. In this case, it fills up the third space. Sometimes, depending on how the music's written, it might be in a different space, but most commonly it's going to be in that third space, and it fills up the entire space. These are very rare, but hey, someone has to teach them to you, so it might as well be me. The next one, this is where most people start, and this is a very common note, the whole note. If you look at it, it just looks like a round circle that's not even colored in, and we describe it as an open note head. We have just the circle part, and it's not colored in. That's an open note head. The whole rest is this rectangle picture that hangs down from a line. I know when I was first learning to read music, my music teacher said, hey, pretend that fourth line is a line, and there's a hole that goes down below the line. So we have a whole rest and a whole note. The next thing we have is the half note and the half rest. If you look at it, it says a half note is an open note head and a stem. Open note head simply means it's a circle or an oval. It's not colored in, it's opened. The stem is the line that goes up and down on the side. It could also point down. It doesn't matter if it points up or down, as long as you have an open note head, not colored in circle, and a stem, you're looking at a half note. The half rest is this rectangle that points up. I know my music teacher and most music teachers tell you, hey, look at this line, and here's a little rectangle that points up, and you're picturing Abe Lincoln's top hat. Hat sounds like half. I never liked that analogy, but that's the analogy we all use. The next kind of note we have is the quarter note. You're going to see a lot of these. A quarter note is described as a closed note head with a stem. Closed simply means that note head is now colored in. Once again, the stem could point up. It could, for purposes of fitting into the music, it could point down off the other side of the note. A quarter rest. There's nothing in music that looks like a quarter rest. It's a very interesting shape. I have fun drawing it when I write it on the board. I always draw a zigzag or the letter Z, and then I add the letter C on the bottom. So it's a lightning bolt with the letter C is the quarter rest. Our next note is the eighth note. An eighth note, this is a single eighth note, and usually when we start teaching eighth notes, we don't see single eighth notes, but I like to start with just one eighth note. It makes sense to see what just one looks like. It is a closed note head, colored in circle, with a stem, and then this thing that sticks off the side is called a flag. So we have a closed note head, stem, and flag. Once again, the stem and flag could be on the other side, pointing down. The eighth rest. When I draw it, it's like I write a funky number 7. So an eighth rest sort of looks like a weird number 7 here, or kind of like a little, almost like a Nike swoosh kind of thing. So we want to get used to looking and seeing what these things look like. We need to know them. We need to identify them, just like you recognize your alphabet. When you're when you're writing or typing or texting these days. Our next note is a 16th note. If we look at it, it has that closed note head, the colored in note, the colored in circle or oval. It has a stem. And the 16th note has two flags on it. That's how we can tell it apart from the 8th. The 8th only has one flag. A quarter note doesn't have any flags. 16th note has two flags. That's the identifier. It's the two flags on it. Our 16th rest down here. Sorry, my cursor isn't really showing up on the screen, so I hope I'm close. The 16th rest looks like that 8th rest, but just as the 16th has two flags on it, the 16th rest has two hooks on it. Next on our series of notes is the 32nd note. You'll probably never see this in middle school band. You see it more in high school band, and you see it more as you get advanced in your reading of music. It's a very advanced note, but you have to learn it sometime. I'm not going to treat you like babies. Somebody has to teach you these things, and I want to do it. I want to teach you these music notes. I want to make you awesome. A 32nd note is that colored in note head, a closed note head, the stem, and this has three flags on it. And that's how you can tell it, because it has three flags. That makes it a 32nd note. Down here, the 32nd rest has three hooks on it. Three stripes, three hooks, 30 seconds. Three stripes, three flags, 32nd note, three hooks, 30-second rests. And I even say here, these are very advanced in the reading of music. If you're looking at 30-second notes, congratulations, you're reading music at a high level, and that should be exciting. And the last note that I'm going to show you is the 64th note. And the description tells you a 64th note has a closed note head, colored in circle, a stem, and four flags. 1, 2, 3, 4 flags. The 64th rest has four hooks. These are very rare and very advanced in the reading of music. If you're reading music with 64th notes, you're doing great, kids. Congratulations. Good for you. You'll probably never see them, but hey, you learned it here first. Could we do notes past this? Yes, but we're not going to. I'm going to teach you just the ones that you might possibly see anywhere between beginning band and advanced high school into college music. So you're covered. You're covered with looking at your music notes, which is pretty cool, I think. Something you need to realize, if you look at the names of the notes, kids, this is basically math, and it's not even hard math. Look at these words. Whole divides into two halves. That should not be a hard concept. Think of a sandwich or think of a pizza. You take a whole pizza and you cut it into two halves. Two halves. You take those halves and you cut them into half again. Two halves go into 4 quarters. It says 2 in each half. Cutting each of those pieces again, we're going to get 8/8. It makes sense. There are 8/8 in a whole. We cut those in half and we get 16ths. There are 16 sixteenths in a whole, or 8/16 in a half, or 4/16 in a quarter, or a fourth. This is just fractions, kids. And the last example on this page shows some 16th notes. We see those two flags there, 16th notes. Here those flags are beamed together, just like with the 8th notes. We beam those flags together to help us see how the music is structured. But once again, this is just fractions. If you can multiply and divide by 2, you can understand music. It's not hard. Yay. In conclusion, here's what we've done. We've learned some very unusual notes. You'll never see these notes in your life, probably, but if so, you know what they are. The double whole note, that round open note head with the brackets on it. The 32nd note with 3 flags and the 64th note with 4 flags. Some very, very, very basic notes, the whole and half note. The so often used quarters, eighths, and 16th notes. We've learned the rests for them. We've talked about the parts of the notes, the note heads, whether they're opened or closed, not colored in or colored in, the stems, and the flags. We've talked about the mathematical relationship, just being able to multiply or divide by 2 to figure out our music notes. It's very important, kids, that you get used to studying these shapes, just like you recognize your alphabet, or just like you recognize what a square or a triangle looks like. If you want to be successful at music, you have to understand these little pictures. I promise I'll help you practice, but I encourage you to practice yourself and get good at them. And if you do, you're going to be great, and that's exciting.